10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, what is up, Dave from Derision Cult?
Hey, man, that's a sweet intro.
It is. Fellow Chicagoan made the music for it.
Nice, right
I
on.
don't know if you've heard of V is for Villains, but he did the music.
No, I'll have to check him out. It's, yeah, very cool.
For sure. All right, so for people watching, tell us who you are and, what you're all about.
Yeah, well, Dave McAnally, I have, Derision Cold, as you mentioned. It's been a project for almost 10 years now. We're on Glitch Mode Recordings, which is kind of an artist collective label here in Chicago. Also Cyanotic, Conform Co., RoboHop, a number of others. So, which is really cool. Kind of a bunch of guys. It kind of like feels like an old school label, but we are in the midst of releasing a series of remixes right now from our EP called Mercenary Notes Part 1, which came out in December, which has been awesome for us. Really positive responses, but really excited about these remixes, man, because this is the first time I think I really went all out and just sought out, just put a list of like, who are the people I really want to work with, and the hell with what it costs and stuff. Let's just do it. And we were able to get a lot of cool people on here. Just the Assemblage 23 mix of a track called The Year Hope Failed dropped last week. And we have one remix of a track called Deaf Blood, which features Chris Connolly and Reeves Gabrels from The Cure on it.
Nice.
That drops next Thursday. But yeah, we make angry robot industrial guitar music.
That's a good way to put it. It's a very unique sound. I mean, there's other like electro industrial type stuff, but like, I don't know, yours is different.
Well, I think I think a big part, especially with Mercenary Notes, I think a big part of that sound is I'm like a guitar guy, and I hooked up with Sean Payne from Cyanotic to do this one. And, Sean's very much, kind of a legend in the industrial world, Cyanotic and his roots with Acumination and, Vampire Anvil. And I kind of just, instead of me trying to be like a synthy drum guy, I was just a guitar guy, and Sean was just a, big drums robot. We just mashed it together, so it wasn't one of us trying. We kind of focused on our strong suits with it. And then that was really, I think that's really kind of what came to life. We sort of fused like rock metal guitars through this sort of soundscape cyberpunk sound that kind of Glitch Mode's known for. But that's how it came together.
I dig it. Have you brought Derision Cult like out on the road yet?
No, but it's funny you say that. We're that is all being kind of put together now. Cyanotic has an album right in the can that's going to drop any second now. And once we have that ready, we're talking about doing some shows together in the fall, and
nice.
Actually be out your way probably next spring, doing an East Coast run. So
sweet. I hope I'm able to catch it somewhere.
Yeah, man, it'll be fun. It's
sure.
What's fun about when we talk about playing live is with Cyanotic, a lot of Derision Cult is me and some guys from that band is kind of how we would play live, how we've been jamming. So you talk about making touring economical. Just pack, bands in a van and off we go. And it's fun with Sean because he's been touring for 20 years. And I haven't really toured and played live since the early 2000s. Kind of my days in the Iowa metal scene. And man, guys like that are so good at there's just so many little pitfalls and things they think about that like I wouldn't, and so but it's funny, people like that, it's a point of pride. How little can they get away with taking and how much can they cram into the smallest spaces? And we're having all those kind of fun conversations right now.
Nice. So you mentioned that you're having some remixes done by like some people you're really excited to work with. But if you could have like, what would your ultimate like dream collab person be?
Dead or alive? Well, if I could have Lemmy and David Bowie on a album,
that'd be nice.
Well, I'll be honest with you. One collaborator that really has been a dream come true is Reeves Gabrels, because so in the 90s he was David Bowie's guitarist, and he played on an album that was really kind of a catalyst for me to stop being such a metal thrash guy and think more about industrial, which was Outside. And he was like a huge inspiration. I played a Parker Nightfly back then, because of Reeves, and so to have him playing tracks on this, that was a real bucket list thing.
For sure.
And that opened doors to have guys like Chris Connolly and, that led to opening doors to have like Godflesh do a remix. So those are cool. But yeah, Reeves is one. If you'd asked me like 5 years ago, I probably would have told you Reeves and said it like, well, that'd be cool someday. But the fact we actually made it happen is, that's really exciting. But I really would love to do a mix. It's kind of hard timing wise to come together, but Devin Townsend.
Yes, he doesn't get as much love as he deserves. I'm happy you brought him up.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And I think, some of his production work is so phenomenal.
Oh, absolutely.
I was a big strapping young lad fan. So
I saw him live a few years ago doing an acoustic set. It was really cool.
A buddy of mine just saw him last night. He's touring with Dream Theater right now.
Oh, nice.
But hence why, scheduling's never. I've emailed those people a few times, or his people. But no dice so far. But he would be really cool. Reese Fulber would be another one. Frontline Assembly, which I think that'll probably happen at some point. It's a pretty interconnected world, industrial scene. Those are remake. As far as like collaborating, there's actually a lot of people in the kind of outlaw country scene, because I'm really into that stuff. And I think there's so many connections. I'm not talking about like new modern country. I'm talking the Jennings, Johnny Paycheck, Towns Van Zandt type world. Love to do something with Shooter Jennings. Just kind of honoring that legacy. I love Whitey Morgan. Some of those real authentic guys like that would be really cool to bring into this kind of cyberpunk world we're doing, and kind of create something new. So
that would be cool.
Yeah, for sure. Which I think is kind of, I don't know if that's kind of when I think of collaborations now, kind of having done, these remixes and with Mercenary Notes. What gets me really excited is just those real, like, how outside the box could we get and still have it be cool, It's real easy to, dream up some wacky things, but I really firmly believe that there is a really cool through line between like old school outlaw country and industrial. So
I can totally see that working.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
You look at like, I mean, Ministry with like Jesus Built My Hot Rod,
Mhm.
and, stuff like that. And, well, Shooter Jennings produced that Marilyn Manson album. So I think there's like the clues are there, but I really, those are two genres I really love. So
Yeah. Tell me a story about, maybe like when you're growing up and you heard a piece of music that just like had a crazy impact on your life.
Oh man. That one is I'll tell you two stories.
All right.
One was I would say when I saw going back to David Bowie, seeing him play Scary Monsters on Saturday Night Live and Reeves Gabrels just making all these crazy noises with guitars was like a complete about face for me. And I'm not taking anything away from thrash metal, but before that, I kind of thought the world of guitar started and stopped with like Kirk Hammett and Dave Mustaine. And to see guys like that doing really inspiring, cool things that sounded. So that really changed how I thought about that. And I think the other one, this is going to sound crazy, but the first concert I ever went to was Joan Jett.
Okay.
In the late 80s, and it was a Potbelly Pig contest, Joan Jett, and then Kenny Rogers. And this was at that festival in Iowa. And I must have been about 9 years old. And Joan had hurt her arm. And so she wasn't playing guitar. She had like her arm in a sling. And what I do remember from that show was she walked up, she had a cigarette, and she said, I can't fucking play my guitar tonight, so I'm going to rock the shit out of you people, singing or something like that. And I just was like, that's like the first time I ever heard a woman swear or anything. Like, that's the coolest woman I ever seen in my life. And so that always stuck with me. And it's funny too, because like at the time, I think I Hate Myself for Loving You was like her big, which was huge. That was a big song. But I didn't know anything about the Runaways or, any of her history, obviously. It wasn't until years later that I actually got to meet Joan and tell her that story. She was campaigning for, I think it was Al Gore at the time. So I got to tell her that story. Like, you're like my first crush because you were a girl who used bad language.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So with Derision Cult, how did the name Derision Cult, how'd that come to be?
Yeah, well, it came from, do you remember that movie? Oh God, it must have come out in like 2007 called The Room. And so a little background on me, that I didn't mention, I spent about 20 years in the ad agency world. So just creating big campaigns, and a lot of the themes in our songs have to do with, experiences I had kind of manipulating the public with ads we created for brands, and, some of the things we would do to kind of shape public discourse, and almost kind of like psyop stuff that started. That's kind of why I got out of that business. But I knew when I was putting this together, that was like something I felt like I had to say, was comment on that a bit. And we have some tracks like Bastards of the World. They're very specific about some things that happened then. But there was that movie, The Room, that came out in 2007, I think. And it was a movie that got really famous because it was so bad. And I remember reading a review about it at the time, and it talked about how there's this cult of derision around that movie where people loved it so much because they hated it. And I thought that negative energy and kind of using that was really interesting, and it really kind of resonated with some of the things I wanted to say. So that's why I picked that name, and that stuck with me for a few years, this cult of derision. And I feel like there's a lot of that right now, like how negative, people kind of come together through hatred. It seems
For
like
sure.
Donald Trump is a really good example of that.
For sure.
I mean, obviously there's his fans, but there's a lot of people that are just collected in their negative energy around him, and the same's true for any politician.
Right.
I just think in the ad business, what especially in the kind of late, between like 2015 to 2020, a lot of brands started playing off that kind of stuff.
Mm.
Like I was part of, I can say it, I was part of that Nike campaign with Colin Kaepernick, and that was pretty calculated. I mean, they knew that that would piss off a certain cohort of people,
Right.
and the people that would react badly would galvanize this other group who are really the people who buy Nike shoes, young urban,
Right.
and the trend liberal. And so that was very meticulous. There was one campaign that, and this is where was kind of the inspiration for the song "Bastards of the World." But there's one, I was approached by a gun manufacturer to help them market an AR-15 for kids, and which sounds crazy. Now, what it was a training rifle, and they had a patent on a trigger that wouldn't go off unless, because one of the most common accidents that happens with kids learning to shoot is the thing goes off and they don't mean it to, and they shoot grandpa or something. And so that was the product, but they'd already kind of done the math, and they had a belief that like that's really not going to grab attention. What would grab attention is if we, specifically design, because an AR-15, I'm not a big gun guy, but I'm just telling you what I've heard, what I know.
Right.
Experience. An AR-15 is like the shape and size of the gun itself. So it's a style of a gun, and it's smaller, so it's easier for kids to hold. So they would make it that way. But what they wanted me to do is run a campaign about this AR-15 for kids and make sure that everybody in the gun control crowd saw that ad, so they would lose their minds on Facebook and Twitter and these idiots that. And anytime that happens, when ammunition sales go up, and it's because of this reaction.
Oh, it's like that old adage, like all publicity is good publicity.
Right. And so
even if everyone's talking about how much they hate something, it's still getting it out there. So
right. So now I ended up not doing that. I turned that project down, but I thought that was a really in terms of kind of like what I think of when I think of a cult of derision.
Yeah.
And people kind of using that and manipulating it. That's a pretty good example of what that ends up looking like in the real world. And that stuff goes on all the time, and I think people need to be, it's kind of like revealing a magician's tricks. Like if you know how the magic's made, it doesn't blow your mind.
Right.
And I think that's important for people, because that stuff, it's not, I don't have any like grand illusions that like we're gonna educate the masses, but I do think it's important that people are aware that these things go on,
right.
And you really kind of, when you see a message or some sort of stimulus hits, it's important to ask, is this trying to provoke an emotional response out of me? Because there's a term in the ad business, enragement equals engagement. And when you're pissed off and you're emotionally unstable, you tend to act irrationally, or you tend to maybe do things you're more susceptible to, messages when you're acting out of emotion. So, we kind of live in a world that tries to keep you unstable like that, because you're easier to make money off of.
For sure.
So, we talk about that a lot in our tracks. So that's a long-winded explanation of where derision goes.
That's cool. So let's see. I noticed your music videos are really intense and really interesting. It fits the music well.
Thanks. Yeah. Well, we're gonna go shoot another one for the track "Slaves Rebuild" here in a couple.
Nice.
I'm really excited about. That's gonna be the first time we'll have the full band, and we've got a proper, we've got a production company here in Chicago working on that. So
cool.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. The funny thing about videos is it never really it's funny how engaged and involved I've gotten in those because I was
Mm,
pretty. It wasn't until maybe the last year I really kind of started to see him as an extension of the art, you know?
mhm,
Or it just seemed completely unobtainable to make anything that I would like. I always look at it through the lens of would I sit and watch this? You know?
mhm.
And if I wouldn't watch it, then I don't think anyone else would. And I don't know honestly if that's a good way to determine if what makes a good video or not, but it's how I do it. But I found out, especially in the last year, I do believe it's just gotten a lot more economical to make cool visual things.
Definitely.
Um, and so it's for as a creative outlet, it's wonderful, because there's a lot of things we can express. Um, you know, I think about when I was a kid, you kind of like put, MTV was all over the place and artists that I knew kind of growing up that were signed on major labels, would spend
Mhm.
$100,000 to make these things. So it was always kind of out of mind for me. But yeah, it's really fun. And now, especially with Sean Payne involved, because a lot of people don't know this about him, but he's a filmmaker almost before he was an audio
Mhm.
producer guy. And so he's really tuned into like what cool lighting looks like and how to really get a cool visual effect out of things.
Mhm.
And that's really fun working with people like that kind of know what they're doing. But yeah, I think we'll keep doing them for sure. We did that animated one for Deaf Blood, which
Yeah, I
that
was gonna bring that up. That was cool. It's like, oh, I haven't seen like a good animated like cartoon type music video probably
yeah.
since like porn.
Well, what's so fun about that is that the sky's the limit.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, you think, and when I think about what it would have taken to shoot that for real with like riots and stuff blowing up and, big, God, that'd have been millions, but you can do it in an animated fashion and, it looks cool. The one thing, man, they take a while though.
Oh, for
I
sure.
think we started that video in April and I think we had it completed by September. We worked with a company in Vancouver to make that Empire Animation.
Mm.
And, the way that works is, man, you storyboard everything out, and the animators send you, it's like every week I'd get like 5 more seconds of footage that they rendered, and
You're right.
yeah, I have a whole new respect for things like South Park and stuff that are
For
cranking
sure.
stuff out
I,
every week, man.
I don't know how the hell they do it. It's like, I do all my production and stuff, but like to do crap like that, that's insane.
Yeah, yeah, we'll do another one with them. We've got a track that we want to kind of have as a sequel to that one on Mercenary Notes Part 2. So
Mhm.
sort of ideating on what that's going to look like. But yeah, I don't want to be known as like the cartoon guy, but I think it is kind of cool to have a through line like that, especially for EPs that are part 1 and part 2.
For sure. If you couldn't, make music and do everything that you do, is there another creative outlet you think that you'd pursue?
Yeah, probably painting. My daughter's
Okay.
she's a painter, and so we do some stuff around town. But I dabble in that. I'm not. I would never ask anyone to buy my paintings or want to get a little better. But no, I really enjoy that. There's something real calming about just sitting there playing with colors.
I
That
agree.
I enjoy. I think too, it's funny you say that about creative outlets because I think a lot of people people express creativity in a lot of unique ways. And I've kind of come to realize one of the things that, I mentioned kind of coming from the ad industry and while I was a data guy,
Mm,
data, search engine optimization. I still am. And that to me is like really being able to use data to paint a picture of what an audience is or what,
mm,
a group of people look like. Like I've come to realize that's a creative outlet for me, too. And I think accountants probably experience that as well.
mm,
And jobs that people kind of find art. People that get good at things find art, in a lot of unique ways. So I said painting, but I do kind of think what I'm doing with, I love statistical analysis, and I was an economics major, so I love finding correlations between things, and so that's kind of my art too, in a much less visceral way.
All right. When you're like on the road or just chilling, what's your favorite snack?
Right now, and I'm so glad you asked that because it gives me a chance to evangelize it. It's expensive, but Whole Foods sells these unshelled pistachios, and they have a chili flavor.
What?
And it is like crack. It's so exciting.
That sounds
it's a
amazing.
red package. So for anyone out there, strongly recommend checking this out. And yeah, definitely that. And I don't know if a liquid counts, but I swear to God, these days I live on liquid death. And so, this is the severed lime. So this is the lime flavor here.
Chili pistachios. I need to see if I can get some of those. That
You really
sounds
should.
really
Do they have? Is there? I mean, I don't know. Whole Foods can be. Is there one by you? The Whole Foods.
I don't know. I have no idea.
But that's. I forgot. I'll send you a picture of the bag. But oh my God, I go through that stuff like crazy.
If you were a salad, what dressing would you have?
What dressing?
Yeah, if you were a salad.
That is, I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick ranch because I'm kind of a country bumpkin guy at heart.
There we go.
Even though I'm a Chicagoan, but I grew up in Iowa, so
there we go. I dig it. Have you ever had any really weird interactions with fans?
No, not really. That I would say is weird, at least recently. Kind of someone in the old metal days. We definitely had, when I was a lot younger, we had some people that shall we say, were really into illicit substances that caused there to be some weird interactions. I think now one of the things about kind of the industrial dark goth scene, especially like glitch mode fans, it feels less like, these are fans and this is someone up here, and these are kind of like all my buddies, and that's how it feels like, and a lot of these people I don't know in real life, but there's a lot of people that, I know kind of what they do as far as like jobs and stuff. And that, we talk about some kind of talk more like humans than, this is an artist and a fan. And, I never really, I guess I find that to be really cool because it feels more real. But yeah, these days it doesn't really feel like fan relationships. It feels like buddies and friends and stuff, at least the people I interact with.
Yeah. Do you have any tattoos?
Oh yeah, I got a few. I don't know if you can see it. These are mostly just I got drunk and had a tattoo artist do things, but this I'm trying to show it. I can't get to show up on the camera here. That one, my wife has that same thing. That's a crow from the band the Drive-By Truckers.
Oh, cool.
And she got it because she burned her wrist on a skillet and just wanted to cover up the scar. And I just thought it looked cool, so I got it too. So now we have matching tattoos. I have this I have this kind of creepy leprechaun guy right here.
Ooh.
And then I have a few tattoo on my leg that I got when Hunter Thompson died. Kind of says Gonzo as his logo, and when the going gets weird, the weird turn pro. But yeah, most of my tattoos are all I've gotten at least 10 years ago. I haven't gotten any new ones lately. I haven't really. I don't know. Are you a tattoo guy?
Yeah, I only have a few, but I'm getting more like quickly, I guess.
Well, I remember them being addictive. My
They are.
um, but I just yeah, I just haven't had a really good idea for one lately. I felt like I was pretty impulsive there for a while.
Mhm.
Like I didn't put a lot of thought into them, and I still probably would be like that. I don't know. Yeah, I just kind of haven't done. My wife hasn't gotten any in a long time either, and that probably because we used to get them together, you know.
Mhm. Right.
As you can tell, I seem to be pretty spur of the moment decision. Oh, that looks cool. I want one too.
Yeah, I've got a logo for my all-time favorite band, Moonspell.
Oh, very cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm still working on this one for another band I'm a big fan of.
Wow. Oh, yeah, got the outline. Nice. That's some tender, painful.
I think too bad, except for like right when you're hitting right on the bone. Oh, that hurts.
Yeah.
But and right up, but here by the wrist. Ooh.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Anytime you're right close to the bone like that, it's.
oh yeah, it's
Um,
yeah.
I'll probably, I don't know. I think it might be kind of cool to do something more on my forearm, but
For sure.
if I do it, I don't want to. I'd want to do like a proper like sleeve or something. But yeah, I don't know. It just hasn't. It's funny how that kind of came and went for me. Like I was all into
Mhm.
it, and if I was gonna go all Henry Rollins about it, well, first I got to get all ripped, which
Let's see. Is there anything we haven't touched on that you really want to talk about?
um. Well, I guess if for anyone who wants to check out our stuff, we have it's just derisioncult.com is probably the easiest place to see kind of what we're all about on YouTube and Bandcamp and all that. These remixes, it's called the Mercenary Mixes, every 2 weeks. So it'll be next Thursday. We're dropping a new one. Next week will be by a band called Actors out of Vancouver, who did this killer mix of Death Blood. But we've also got Morris Black, Stabbing Westward,
Nice.
Thank the Nun, a lot of like people that, and I'm really, really excited about these. The ways that they've re-rendered these tracks and just reimagined them is just awesome. So yeah, if you follow us on Spotify or Bandcamp, you'll get the new ones. We're taking pre-orders right now. We are going to do a CD release of it right before Cold Waves, which is big dark wave festival in Chicago. This year, Frontline Assembly and Godflesh are headlining that.
Yeah, I've seen stuff about that, and I'm like, oh, I wish I could fucking go to that.
It's a good time, man. Well, you know what's cool about it is it's at the Metro, and that's like that's probably my favorite like smaller theater. It just feels like home when I'm there. You know, I love it. It's a Chicago staple. It's been around forever, and so I just love seeing shows at the Metro, regardless if it's Cold Waves. There's a band, Rabbit Junk, which was in glitch mode at one point.
They were actually my first interview that I ever did.
Oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yeah, they're good guys. So they're playing it too, and I've never gotten to see them live, so I'm looking forward to that.
They're really good live.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah, I saw them last year at a it was this year at Dark Force Fest.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that's right. I was Spank the Nun was at that too, right?
I don't think so.
They were there. Was Ayatoya at that?
No.
Okay, I was just thinking of people I know that went out to that, and I thought those are some of the artists. But regardless, yeah, they'll be. I'm looking forward to seeing them. But yeah, we'll have some stuff available kind of leading into that. So yeah, man, should be pretty fun.
Sweet. All right. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you want to say to your fans who might watch this?
Just thanks for checking us out. Much appreciated. More to come, and keep listening to them angry robot noises.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you for joining me. This has been fun.
Cheers, man. We'll see you.
All right.
Drop the bass.